Amber Campbell, and I am joined today by author Starling Lyons. Starling Lyons is a founding member of the Brown Bookshelf, teaching artist and award-winning author of more than a dozen books that span easy readers, picture books, and chapter books, fiction and nonfiction. Her mission is to create Black heroes, celebrate family, friendship, and heritage, and show all the kids the storytellers they hold inside. Her titles include Going Down Home with Daddy, Dream Builder, the story of architect Philip Freeland, Sing a Song, How Lift Every Voice and Sing Inspired Generations, Tiara's Hat Parade, and the Jada Jones and Ty Travel series. Ms. Lyons, thank you for joining us today. At this time, I was wondering if you would read an excerpt from your book, Dream Builder.
I would love to. Thank you, Amber. So I'm going to just show the cover first so everybody can see it. And this is illustrated by Laura Freeman and published by Lee and Low Books. In Phil Freeland's world, art breathes dreams to life. Everywhere he looks around his Philadelphia home, paintings and drawings greet him from the walls. Phil listens to his parents discuss artists at the dinner table. He watches his big sister splatter canvases with creativity. He plays basketball with his buddies and carries a sketchbook around his neighborhood. Buildings, roses, people passing on the street. Phil sees them all and draws clear and strong. But at school, what Phil sees is out of focus. Letters on a page don't spring to life as words. His mom, a teacher, tries her best to help him. Ma, What does it say, she asks. Phil lowers his head and his heart sinks. His big brother and sister are great students. His dad is a successful businessman. Why can't he see how to read? Someone in his family shows him a strength he holds inside. His pop-pop, Alan Randall Freelon, is an educator and Harlem Renaissance painter. In his studio, Phil sees pastel homes by harbors, fishermen, still wet canvases, and palettes with oily colors dare him to touch. One day, the two of them walk through the woods. Phil darts this way and that, until Pop-Up tells him to sit by his side on a log. Close your eyes and listen, Pop-Pop says. Phil hears birds crooning and squirrels scampering across crunchy leaves. He smells the fragrance of earth. He feels the breeze dance across his honey skin. He is seeing the world with an artist's inner eye. As Phil grows older, his special sight deepens. His thoughts have color, shape, and form. Math and science fill him up like art. Phil can see strings of numbers and formulas in his mind. Reading takes longer to master. His mom and sister recite Shakespeare for fun, but Phil freezes when called to read aloud in class. He struggles to feel joy in books until he realizes that words create images too. In time, those story portraits show him new worlds, just like art. Phil explores different media. He doesn't just draw, he writes essays and poems. He can see the shape of a car inside a block of balsa wood. He builds using his senses to create. When his father gives him models after business trips, Phil spreads pieces of battleships, cars, and planes out like a puzzle. He doesn't need directions to know where each piece should go. Soon, his paintings, sculptures, and models reflect the times. He carves African masks from bars of ivory soap. Black is beautiful. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. They're not just mottos, they're beliefs that live in him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lyons. I'm sure everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions before we end.
I would love that. Thank you.
My first question for you is, what inspired you to become an author?
That's a great question. So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I grew up in a family that really prized creativity. My mom is an actress and she writes plays, and I grew up going to children's theater and watching her act in country repertory theater. We would go to Carnegie Library. I'd come home with stacks of books. She would make up bedtime stories with my brother and me as the stars. Spent a lot of time with my grandparents too. And to me, they were like these griots who would tell the story of our people through the oral tradition. And when I was in class and I would hear about historical events and never see people who look like me, my grandparents filled in the gaps. So when I think about Rosie the Riveter, that poster that we see everywhere, I picture my grandma who worked in the steel mill. When I think about veterans who served bravely and to make sure that we were fighting for freedom, I see my grandfathers and my own father and my uncles and my cousins. So they really helped to fill that void that was missing. And I wanted to tell those stories. And so that's what led me to be a writer.
Wow, that's so inspirational.
Oh, thanks.
My next question for you is, what was your favorite book as a child?
Yeah, wow. I love so many books when I was younger. I'm going to change that a little bit and talk about the most transformative book whenever I was younger. When I was little, I would read everything. I love fantasy. I would read books about dragons and fairies, and I love science. I read books about astronauts and rocks, and I love folk tales and fairy tales and all of that. But one day when I was in third grade, we had a book club flyer that we got to pick out a book if we wanted to. And I saw a kind of book I had never seen before. The book I saw was Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. And that was my first time seeing a Black girl on the cover of a children's book. And immediately I felt a connection. I didn't need to read the summary to see what it was about. I didn't care about what awards or reviews said. I felt like this book was showing me that my story mattered and my family mattered and my history mattered. And though I was too young to realize it then, it planted a seed in me, which later bloomed into me going on this journey to write children's books.
Okay. My next question for you is, why was it important for you to tell the story of Philip Freeland?
Phil Freelon, I mean, he was this unsung hero who has been part of the fabric of our, nation for so long. He's really curated monuments to the Black experience all over the whole nation. And when I came to North Carolina and learned of his work, from the International Civil Rights Museum in Greensboro to the Gantt Center in Charlotte, to so many beautiful public spaces and buildings right here in the Triangle, I was already an early fan. And then I learned that he was going to be the lead architect for the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC. I keep kind of a running list of ideas of things I want to write about. So I had him on my list. And then as chance had it, my agent reached out to me and told me that an editor wanted a story about an architect who designed the museum. And I knew exactly who to go to. And he was so gracious and kind. And he invited and welcomed me into his home. He and his wife, Nina Freelon, who's a Grammy nominated singer and composer, and really took me on this tour, inspiring tour of his life. Just like I was sharing, from being a kid who felt like less than because he had trouble reading, to realizing his gifts in art, math, and science, and really soaring and being able to celebrate who we are as a people and create these beautiful public spaces that have meaning, that have grace, and that have power.
Okay. If you could meet one of your characters, what would you say to them?
That is such an interesting question. Um, I'll start with Jada Jones. So Jada Jones, that's a character in my chapter book series of the same name. And I was really inspired by my own kids and by the amazing kids I meet when I go into schools. Every book in the series, Jada faces some kind of challenge. And at first she doubts herself, like all of us. She wonders, is she going to be able to do it? So I would tell her to believe in herself, that she can do anything and she has all that she needs to succeed. For my other little character, Ty, that's my newest series, Ty's Travels. It's an easy reader about a boy with a big imagination. It's a tribute to Black boy joy. And I would tell him to remember that he comes from a legacy of greatness, that he is a prince and he's going to be a king. And don't worry about all of that, negativity that we see sometimes in the media of, having our boys kind of stereotypes and portrayed in a way that is counter to the brilliance that we know and the beauty that we know that they are, part that is part of who they are. So I would remind him of how special he is, that he matters, to always hold his head up high. And for both of them, that we care about them and we're rooting for them and they are our our future. Thanks for the question.
No problem. The final question I have for you is where can our viewers purchase or check out your books? And where can they find more information about you?
Yes, thank you. So you can find more information about me on my website, and that's just my name, kellystarlinglyons.com. You can also find out about me on the blog I'm part of, which is the brownbookshelf.com. That's also a great place if you're looking for recommendations of books by Black creators. We've been around 13 plus years, and every February we celebrate Black creators in an initiative called 28 Days Later. We have a really vast archive. And where to find my books? I love supporting local indie bookstores, and we're blessed to have so many great ones here. So I would say for people in the Triangle, please do support local and family-owned bookstores, Black-owned bookstores, all of those. And then if you're watching this from someplace else, my books are online. I'm blessed to have them at different places around the country. I just want to thank everyone so much for all the support. This has been really a beautiful journey. I've been a children's book author for 15 plus years, and it's just brought me so much joy and so much satisfaction. So thank you to all of you.
Well, I would like to personally thank author Kelly Starling Lyons for joining us today. And again, for more information on this author, you can visit her website at www.kellystarlinglyons.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for having me and for this wonderful celebration of Black children's literature.